The sun hung high in the bright spring sky as 5 friends gathered around a cluttered kitchen table strewn with maps, backpacks, and hiking gear. Laughter bounced between them as they finalized plans for their weekend adventure, a hiking trip deep into the remote Pine Hollow forest, a place whispered about for its untouched wilderness and breathtaking views. Emma, the adventurous leader of the group, spread out a large, worn map, tracing their route with a finger. "We'll start early Saturday morning, hike through the ridge, and camp near the old creek by sunset," she said, eyes sparkling with excitement. The others, Jake, Sarah, Mike, and Lily, nodded eagerly, their faces glowing with anticipation. The preparation was lively. They packed tents, ropes, flashlights, and enough food to last the weekend. Jake playfully tossed a granola bar to Mike, while Sarah double-checked their first aid kit. Outside, birds chirped melodiously, and the scent of pine filled the air. The world felt alive, promising freedom and escape. Saturday arrived, and the group piled into 2 cars, engines humming as they drove away from city noise. The deeper they went, the taller the trees grew, their thick branches weaving a green canopy overhead. The forest seemed endless, a sprawling sea of emerald shadows and dappled sunlight. As they stepped onto the narrow dirt trail, the crunch of leaves and twigs underfoot mixed with the soft rustling of the wind. The friends shared stories, jokes, and occasional silence, soaking in the natural beauty around them. But beneath the peaceful surface, subtle signs unsettled the calm. Along the path, strange symbols, roughly carved into tree bark, glimmered faintly in the fading sunlight. No one mentioned them at first, but a shiver passed through Lily as a distant, low moan echoed from the forest depths. Even the birds had quieted. Occasionally, a shadow flickered just beyond the trees, disappearing when anyone tried to focus on it. Despite the unease, the group pressed onward, spirits buoyed by the promise of a night under the stars. By late afternoon, they reached a clearing beside the creek, the water sparkling as it rushed over smooth stones. Emma smiled, relieved. "This is perfect." They quickly set up tents, gathered firewood, and built a small campfire. The flickering flames cast dancing shadows that intertwined with the looming trees. Night settled in, the forest growing darker and colder. Crickets sang, but beneath their song lay a strange, unplaceable tension. As the friends huddled around the fire, sharing food and laughter, the wilderness seemed to hold its breath, waiting. The night deepened, and the fire crackled softly, casting a warm glow on the anxious faces of the friends. At first, their laughter masked the subtle unease settling over the camp, but as the hours passed, strange things began to unravel the comfort of their weekend adventure. Sarah was the first to notice something amiss. As she reached for her water bottle, she realized it had vanished from her backpack. "Hey, where's my water?" she asked, scanning the area. The others shrugged, but soon, Mike found his flashlight missing, and Jake's map was nowhere to be found. "Must have dropped them somewhere on the trail," Emma said, trying to keep the mood light. But the sense of something unseen gnawed at them all. Then, just beyond the firelight, a sudden rustling in the underbrush made everyone freeze. A shadow darted between the trees, too quick and fluid to be a deer or rabbit. Mike's flashlight flicked on, slicing through the darkness, but revealed nothing. "Probably just a raccoon," Jake whispered, though his voice betrayed his doubt. As the group settled down again, the air grew colder, and an eerie silence fell. The usual nighttime sounds, the hoot of owls, chirp of crickets, were strangely absent. In their place came an odd, low humming, almost like whispered voices, threading through the trees. Lily tugged at Emma's sleeve, pointing to the base of a nearby oak. There, freshly carved into the bark, were strange symbols, the same kind they had seen on the trail earlier, but now sharper, as if someone had etched them recently. The carvings twisted in sharp, unnatural shapes that made the skin crawl. Do you think someone else is out here? Sarah asked, eyes wide. Before anyone could answer, a sudden snap echoed from the forest edge, followed by a chilling scream, distant but filled with raw terror. The group leapt to their feet, flashlights searching frantically through the thick shadows. "Who's there?" Emma called, voice steady but tense. Only silence answered, heavy and suffocating. As the friends huddled closer around the dying fire, unease turned to fear. The forest no longer felt like a peaceful retreat but a trap, closing in around them. Somewhere in the darkness, something watched. Dawn broke cold and gray over Pine Hollow Forest, but the friends were nowhere near the safety they had hoped for. The night's terror had left their nerves frayed, and now, with the morning light, a new nightmare awaited them, one of confusion and despair. As Emma led the group along the trail, her confidence faltered. The familiar landmarks they had noted on the map seemed gone, replaced by an endless maze of twisted trees and thick undergrowth. The path they had followed the day before was no longer visible, the earth was strangely disturbed, as if the forest itself had erased their footprints. "Wait, this isn't right," Jake murmured, squinting ahead. "The trail should turn left up there, but there's nothing but dense brush." Sarah checked her phone for signal. Nothing. No GPS, no service, just the endless canopy blocking the sky. Panic simmered beneath their calm voices. Mike's face grew pale. "Are we lost?" The forest around them was unnervingly silent. Even the birds that had serenaded their morning hike were absent. In the distance, the wind whispered through the leaves, but beneath it was an almost imperceptible sound: footsteps? Breathing? Something was moving just beyond sight. Suddenly, Lily gasped and pointed. "Look! Over there!" A dark figure darted behind a tree, vanishing before anyone could get a clear look. "Who's there?" Emma called out, voice steady but heart pounding. No answer came, only the oppressive stillness pressing in from all sides. As they moved cautiously forward, strange symbols again appeared, scratched into tree trunks, etched into stones along the path. The carvings seemed to pulse faintly, glowing with an otherworldly light that made their skin crawl. The group's unity began to crack. Sarah wanted to turn back, Mike suggested climbing a tree for a better view. But Emma insisted they press on toward the creek where they had camped, hoping to find a familiar landmark. Hours passed with no sign of escape. The forest seemed to stretch endlessly in every direction, a labyrinth without exit. Then, as the sun dipped low, a blood-curdling scream shattered the silence, close, desperate, human. Jake bolted toward the sound, but in the chaos, he slipped and vanished between the trees. "Jake!" the others shouted, running after him, but only the eerie forest greeted their cries. Their numbers dwindled, their hope faded. Alone and hunted, they realized the forest was not just lost, it was alive, and it was hungry. As twilight deepened into a cold, unforgiving night, the remaining friends huddled together beneath the towering trees of Pine Hollow. The forest, once a place of natural beauty, had twisted into something sinister, its shadows long and threatening, whispering secrets too dark to ignore. Emma, Sarah, Mike, and Lily stumbled upon a small clearing, littered with weathered bones and fragments of old camping gear. The scent of decay hung heavy in the damp air. Mike bent down, brushing aside leaves to reveal a faded, leather-bound journal. Its pages were brittle, stained with age and something darker, smears of dried blood. With trembling hands, Emma opened it. The journal belonged to a hiker who had disappeared in these woods years ago. The entry spoke of strange symbols carved into trees, of a secret cult that once worshipped an ancient forest spirit, an entity said to guard the woods with malevolent fury. They believed this spirit demanded sacrifices to keep the forest alive, Emma read aloud. Anyone who disturbed its domain would be marked, and hunted. A cold wind swept through the clearing, carrying with it faint whispers, like voices calling from beneath the soil. The friends exchanged terrified glances. The realization hit them like a blow: the forest's eerie signs and their disappearing friends were no accident. They were caught in the grip of something old and vengeful. Suddenly, a chilling howl shattered the silence. Shadows coalesced between the trees, figures neither fully human nor beast, their eyes glowing with unnatural light. The cult's guardians, or perhaps the spirit itself, had come for them. Panic surged as the friends scrambled to gather their meager supplies. The symbols on the trees seemed to pulse brighter, casting an otherworldly glow that illuminated twisted faces in the darkness. "Run!" Emma shouted, heart pounding. But the forest resisted their escape. The path behind them shifted like a living maze, trees closing in, roots snagging their feet. One by one, the shadows closed the distance, whispering threats in a language older than time. Lily screamed as a spectral hand reached from the darkness, dragging her away into the blackness. Desperation took hold. Emma, Sarah, and Mike sprinted blindly, the haunted woods echoing with the sounds of pursuit and lost souls. Somewhere deep in the forest, the line between the living and the dead blurred, and the true horror of Pine Hollow revealed itself. There was no mercy here, only endless night. The moon hung low, casting a cold silver light through the dense canopy as Emma, Sarah, and Mike ran for their lives. The forest no longer felt like a place of nature. It had become a labyrinth of shadows and whispers, closing in tighter with every desperate step. Behind them, the eerie glow of the forest's guardians flickered in the darkness, relentless and unyielding. Their lungs burned, legs trembling, but they couldn't stop. Every path they took seemed to twist and shift, leading them deeper into the heart of the haunted woods. The strange symbols carved into trees pulsed faintly, as if feeding off their fear. "Keep moving," Emma urged, though doubt gnawed at her. Was there even a way out? Suddenly, Sarah stumbled, her ankle twisting on a hidden root. She cried out, collapsing to the ground. Mike helped her up, but the pace slowed, and the glowing eyes of the shadowy figures crept closer. In the distance, a faint flicker of light caught their attention, the headlights of a car parked near the forest's edge. Hope surged through them. With Sarah leaning on Mike, the three friends made a final sprint toward salvation. Branches whipped at their faces, thorns tore at their clothes, but nothing could stop them now. They burst from the tree line into a narrow clearing, the cold air sharp against their skin. The car was there, the only beacon of safety in the endless dark. Emma fumbled with the keys, hands shaking wildly. As the engine roared to life, Sarah collapsed into the passenger seat, tears streaming down her face. Mike and Emma exchanged a glance, relief mixed with the terror of what they'd survived. But just as they sped down the lonely road, Emma glanced in the rearview mirror. There, at the forest's edge, the shadows lingered. The glowing eyes watched silently. And then, the chilling truth settled like ice in their veins: the nightmare had followed them out. The forest didn't just claim its victims, it marked them forever. As the car disappeared into the night, a final whisper echoed on the wind, promising the terror would return with the next footsteps daring enough to enter Pine Hollow.